Welcome to Theories About Things, where I pitch my theories on why some things are the way they are. Today, we'll get into my theory on why the mighty Costco could one day fall from its throne. So let's jump right into it. To start with the basics, Costco is a membership-only, big-box warehouse retail megacorporation that many, if not all of you, are very familiar with. When I say Costco sits on a throne, I mean it. It absolutely dominates its competitors. In its most recent fiscal year ending September 2024, Costco pulled in $249.6 billion in net sales. Its closest competitors, Sam's Club and BJ's, and I'm using the term closest competitors very loosely, had net sales in their latest fiscal years of $90.2 billion and $20 billion respectively. Combined, that isn't even half of what Costco rakes in for a typical year by itself. Even aside from the financials, if you're on social media, you've probably noticed that it's become kind of social media currency for influencers to make videos about Costco products. No matter how you look at it, Costco is at the top of its game right now in terms of popularity. Not only does it wash its competitors in terms of performance, but Costco is also considered to be more premium than its competitors, as its customers are typically wealthier than those of its competitors. If you've ever been to a Costco warehouse and browsed the furniture aisles, this should be no surprise. It sells dining room tables that seat 8 to 10 people, couches that could seat an entire NBA team, and outdoor furniture that requires that you have an entire backyard sanctuary to even think about buying it. It caters to its wealthier customers that have bigger houses that would be the only ones to have use for these larger, more premium home offerings, among other products. This leads right into my theory on why Costco may not be invincible forever. My theory is that the perception of Costco and the reality of Costco are two different things, and customers may one day start to realize it. Now, what do I mean by this? I'll focus on the grocery that Costco sells to illustrate this point, as it's a huge part of Costco's business. If you've ever been to a Costco warehouse, you'll see that probably half or more of the selling floor space is dedicated to grocery. Upon browsing the aisles of Costco, you'll clearly notice that Costco is well aware of the trendy buzzwords in the grocery world these days. Organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised, USDA Prime. You can find products with these labels in nearly every Costco grocery aisle. However, are the products with these labels at Costco in particular as premium as they seem? It seems to me, and this is purely speculation, that Costco knows that these are the popular labels of the day and has their products just meet the absolute minimum to be able to be labeled with these titles. Costco benefits from the perception that comes with these labels being on its products, as the average consumer gets the impression that these products bear the same quality as those that they might get at, say, a farmer's market. But is that the case? Take Costco's own Kirkland Organic Animal Crackers. A consumer might think, wow, this is a great product, especially for kids since it's organic. However, when you look at the ingredients, it tells a different story. It has seed oils, processed sugars, natural flavors, and soy lecithin. It might be a slightly better option than an average animal cracker, but it's certainly far from great. You can do this same exercise for many of Costco's products, and you'll see the same thing. Speaking of organic, let's move on to one of Costco's most popular items that combines two trendy grocery titles. It's organic, pasture-raised eggs. This would make the consumer believe that these eggs are basically like eggs from your own chickens roaming on your lush 5-acre plot of land. However, as you dig deeper, you'll once again realize that this is not even close to reality. As stated by CertifiedHumane.org, there is currently no legal definition for free-range or pasture-raised in the United States. In other words, the label pasture raised on its own on a carton of eggs is meaningless. The idea of a pasture raised chicken is that it's roaming around on open land eating its natural diet of grass, bugs, and worms. However, Costco's own label on these eggs state that the chickens eat a vegetarian feed, which almost certainly means organic corn and soy. That's a far cry from the eggs that you'd get from your local farmer, even though that's the perception you're supposed to have of these Costco eggs. How about something grass-fed now? Costco recently debuted a new offering in their ground beef section, which is a 4-pound package of grass-fed and grass-finished American ground beef. Grass-fed, grass-finished beef is becoming a wildly popular classification of beef, especially in the health space. And like I mentioned earlier, Costco certainly knows this. I have no concrete evidence of anything pertaining to this beef, but my personal review, just from eating it a handful of times, is that it tastes quite different than basically any American grass-fed, grass-finished beef I've ever had before. Let me know in the comments if you've tried this beef from Costco and have noticed the same thing. It's purely speculation, but my theory is that while the beef is likely from grass-fed and grass-finished cattle, it may not be from the most premium cuts or even the most premium cattle, which again would fit my theory that Costco is doing the bare minimum to be able to use these popular labels on its products. Speaking of beef, another popular item in the vast Costco meat department is its USDA Prime steaks. USDA Prime is the highest honor given to steaks in terms of marbling by the US Department of Agriculture. It's basically a fancy steakhouse quality steak. Costco sells USDA Prime steaks for a very, very competitive price. However, if you look closely at some of the labels, there's a little bit of a caveat. While the following only applies to pre-cut steaks like these, and not whole uncut steak sections like these, the labels state that these steaks are mechanically tenderized. This means that machines were used to pierce the steaks to tenderize them. This procedure brings surface bacteria into the inside of the steak, and as a result, it's recommended to cook these steaks to a temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit, as you can see on the label. Many people who would buy a steak of this quality would probably want to eat it at a medium rare to medium temperature, somewhere in the 130 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit range. But with these steaks, that's not recommended. It's yet another example of a Costco product bearing a fancy label, but the actual product delivers something completely different. Speaking of there being a discrepancy between the perception of what Costco offers and the reality of it, Costco seems to benefit from almost a charitable reputation. There's a little bit of a narrative assigned to Costco that Costco sells its products to just break even, and it makes all of its money from its membership fees. The mascot for this narrative is the $1.50 hot dog, which is a price that Costco has maintained since 1984. This narrative then naturally portrays Costco as a store that sells particularly grocery and household items much cheaper than competitors because there's a belief that it sells these items at a price that it doesn't even make money from, and the only money Costco is getting from you is from your membership fee. Obviously, none of this is true. Not that this needs any formal explanation, since Costco is a publicly traded company and the institutional shareholders that control the company would never allow Costco to pass up on an opportunity to make a profit. But we can just look at the financial statements to show that Costco clearly sells its items well above cost in order to make a profit. For its most recent fiscal period, like I mentioned earlier, Costco had net sales of $249.6 billion. The cost of those items to Costco was $222.4 billion, as you can see here. Therefore, Costco generated a margin of over $27 billion on the items it sold in this period. Costco is a business at the end of the day. It's going to sell its merchandise for a profit without a shadow of a doubt. While it is true that percentage-wise, memberships are likely the highest margin offerings from Costco, as it costs almost nothing to produce and Costco sells them for $65 to $130 a year, it's far from the only thing that Costco profits from. It's also true that Costco has loss leaders like any other retailer. Actually, Costco has arguably the most famous loss leader in America, which is its $4.99 rotisserie chicken. Also, just like any other retailer, Costco likely does sell certain discontinued and on-sale items at just break even or even at a loss just to get it out of inventory. However, aside from this small handful of items, when you fill your giant cart with hundreds of dollars worth of goods from the aisles of Costco, Costco is profiting from nearly all of it, not just the card you scan on your way into the warehouse. You can even do the comparison yourself. Many items are no cheaper than you'd find at Walmart or even your local grocery store. Take this box of Mrs. Meyer's hand soap, for example. And how about this package of Kleenex facial tissues? I can walk around the store and do this with many items to the same result. Once again, there's a perception of what's inside Costco, but then there's reality. There's no other way to look at Costco right now than a company that's in its prime. It dominates on social media. It's a store that people want to be known for shopping at. It basically prints money open to close every day. It's miles ahead of its nearest competitors. But a lot of this success is due to a maybe over-exaggerated perception of Costco, some of which is due to Costco's own intentional strategy. Costco is perceived as a store that sells super premium stuff for essentially a charitable price. However, when you really look into it, many items aren't as premium as you might think, and the prices aren't always that generous either. Time will tell whether customers will catch on and whether Costco can hold on to this invincibility forever. So what can be done about this? From the consumer's perspective, consumers need to become more aware of what the terminology on labels mean and what the requirements are for products to be certified as a certain quality. This isn't specific to shopping at Costco. This goes for everywhere. Every day that goes by, companies are trying to find new ways to obscure the quality of their food and where it comes from. They count on consumers not knowing what they're looking at or what anything means to be able to pull this off. Educated consumers force companies to hold higher standards. From Costco's perspective, it has to evolve with the times. There was a time in the past where no one cared to look at the label of something at the grocery store. A name brand product, something like an Oreo, was considered the crown jewel on the shelves. However, times eventually changed, and people started to read the labels and began to care more about what was in their food. When that shift happened, fancy descriptions alone, like organic, really meant something. However, times are changing again in the next evolution of food shopping. While the food labels that are supposed to be certifying the quality of food are taking a step backwards, where even things like seed oils and thickeners like Carrageenan and gums can be certified organic, more consumers are starting to demand an even higher level of quality from their food, up to a true food level where they can read and understand the label and trust every ingredient as real food. I honestly don't think Costco's direct competitors can ever catch up to it. In my opinion, its lead on its direct competitors is pretty much insurmountable. However, there could come a time where Costco's customers raise their standards and realize that Costco isn't meeting their quality expectations and they just buy their staples elsewhere entirely from places that they can trust. We'll have to wait and see if Costco ever finds any cracks in its armor, and you can come back to this video and say you heard it here first. So what do you guys think? Is Costco a flawed giant just ripe for decline? Or have I lost my mind with this one, and Costco is the greatest gift to humanity, and it's truly invincible? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to hear me discuss some more interesting topics. See you in the next one.